your dick for 1 second, you fungal rim job.
The Poser Holocaust commences.
Let's rock!
So last week we were talking about King Diamond, specifically his first band, Merciful Fate, and I mentioned how they were important to metal because they brought in that whole idea of big epic turnarounds that let you make the song more complex. But perhaps just as important, if not more so, was their innovation of bringing an epic sense of storytelling and tying it into the fabric of the musical composition itself.
So what the fuck am I talking about?
Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's find out.
Stop that. You're not going to do a song while I'm here.
So the first King Diamond related thing I ever heard was actually the song Gypsy, which is off the second Merciful Fate album, but the original version I heard was Emperor's cover of it as bonus tracks on the In the Night Side Eclipse album, at least the CD version of it that I originally owned. So anyways, this song is about our protagonist, Mr. Diamond. Hello, Mr. Diamond, how you doing there, sir? He is searching for, quote, the secrets of time, goes up to a gypsy caravan, demands to be let in. The gypsy shows him the future or some shit, and then he is ensorcelled, and his soul is stolen by said gypsy. Truly a horrifying tale, but what's interesting is how they tie that narrative into the music itself, as I will now demonstrate. So he's walking up to this caravan. He's been lured by sort of a Call of Cthulhu type emanation, an insufferable longing for discovery of the unknown. So now he is being asked to be let inside. So they introduce a solo, and they're playing that same riff from earlier, but higher up on the fretboard and faster, so they've upped the tension. It's higher pitched and it's quicker, but we're still within the same realm. But later on, this part of the song comes back as his soul is stolen by this evil gypsy woman, as we will now hear. So we're back to that same riff. Secret of Time that I mentioned earlier. And we're gonna get back to the gypsy woman part. But plot twist, she's bad now. And his soul has been sucked into the crystal ball to demonstrate that he is now in a new world of evil. They've completely shifted how the song is. So we get this evil hard rock riff, and then he attempts to reassert his own identity. Oh, my soul, oh no! So the last gasp of him trying to get out of this bad situation. But, nope, you're fucked. Sorry, bud. Got your soul stolen by an evil gypsy woman. A grim fate indeed. But you saw there how they structured the song around the narrative, the story his lyrics were telling. He picked up this line of composition and took it even further once Merciful Fate broke up. So Hank Sherman and Kim Ruz, as I discussed last week, are left behind. But Michael Denner and King and Timmy Grabber Hansen join up with Mickey D, who later would drum for Motorhead until Lemmy died. I think he was with them for a very long time. And then Andy LaRoque, who later ran the famous Los Angered Studios in Angered, Sweden, which I'm sure my mispronouncing, but whatever. And that guy was in Death for a while too, so star-studded talent. This is where a lot of them got their start, was with the King Diamond solo project. So I got King Diamond's Abigail album for Christmas as a young lad, and I had been running around the house talking about Emperor, as I mentioned earlier. I really loved Emperor back then, still do. I was like, Emperor this, Emperor that, blah, 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 Emperor. So my dad gets me the King Diamond album, and he's like, hey man, I finally got that Emperor Circle for you. And then I was like, I'm gonna kill myself! Because you see what he did there. He used the wrong band name on purpose that pissed me off. You know, there's your little insight into the life of a tender young teenage jub. But anyways, so King Diamond, they come back. Their music gets even more complex, especially in terms of tying the narrative into the music. Also, it gets a lot more melodic, which ended up being a massive influence on later bands. A lot of people like to accuse a lot of the Swedish bands like Dissection and Sacramentum of simply converting Iron Maiden riffs into a black metal context, but in fact, I think King Diamond had a much larger influence, particularly on Dissection, than Iron Maiden did. Allow me to demonstrate with a melodic part from King Diamond's second album, Abigail. This is The Arrival. So already we got that good melodic intro. You can hear the production is a little bit more 80s as opposed to the very 70s sound of Merciful Fate, which makes sense. This album is 87, I think. So we got that big gated snare sound that was popular back then, but it actually sounds good here, unlike on Death's Leprosy, where it sounded like ass! There's the flowing melody I was talking about. Sorry, I didn't want to talk during that part, it was too cool. But you see what I'm talking about with the transition from the very heavy metal riff to a flowing, spooky melody. For comparison, let's check out Dissection's 1995, I think, classic of Thorns of Crimson Death. So, got a cool little intro right there. I forgot I left that in the clip, but I'm glad I did, because it sounds nice. Alright, here we go. So here we go. Intro riff, very similar to The Arrival. A lot of melody going on. Big, nasty chords in the background. And then the transition. Was that not almost a dark mirror of what happened in the intro to The Arrival? I certainly think so. Got a lot of good memories associated with this album as well. I remember one time my buddies and I were in a metal bar, and this album happened to come on, and everything just stopped, and then me and one other guy started spurting about how great this album was. That episode was probably a big inspiration for this show, in fact. So, another nice transition there. Very King Diamond-ish. Should be headbanging during this part. Just letting you know ahead of time in case you're a normie, you're not acquainted with this kind of music. So you see there, the use of melody in that song owes a lot more to that previous King Diamond song than I think it does to Iron Maiden or any other band. So King Diamond was clearly a major influence on a lot of black metal, Dissection being one of the most important 90s black metal bands. Also, King Diamond took the kind of dynamic variation that we saw in Merciful Fate and really upped the ante with it, especially on their third album, Conspiracy. Third King Diamond album, not third Merciful Fate album. Was that the third album? Yeah, that was... No, fourth album! Fuck, I always forget there's that one King Diamond album nobody knows about. But yeah, no. Fourth album, Conspiracy, takes that kind of dynamic variation and epic song turnaround that we heard in Merciful Fate and really does some cool stuff with it. So let's check out a track off of Conspiracy. Ooh, nasty riff. I like that. Good use of artificial harmonic there, that squealing sound. And the transition. Look how sudden that was. Throws you off balance. They make pills for that, King Diamond. You should try melatonin sometime. And then another transition back. See how he did the transition even inside his voice, like ah! Like that was pretty sick. So they're big on these kind of progressive transitions. There's the chorus. Video for this song is good too. The song's obviously called Sleepless Nights, if you didn't fucking figure that out. I don't know what to do with you. But that kind of really abrupt yet still tasteful transition was another big influence on Dissection, as you will hear in this song, Black Horizons. So I figured I'd start it from the melodic part here, just because this part's cool. You know, fucking sue me. Very evil, and obviously King Diamond influence that sounded a lot like the stuff we were listening to earlier. This is kind of like a little slow thrash riff that I like a lot too, so I kept that part in there. We're gonna hear the transition into a startling acoustic section, very similar to that King Diamond track. Interesting drum work here, accentuating the transition. Very dynamic and almost orchestral. And here we go, Ultimate King Diamond tribute, upcoming, watch this. That was pretty sick. Definitely King Diamond influence there. Clean vocals right here are really cool. Very much of Misty Moore's Bela Lugosi style Dracula atmosphere that I like a lot, and I think King Diamond was one of the principal bands bringing that into metal. So, you know, I could be wrong. Feel free to argue with me on the forum or the Discord about the degree to which King Diamond influenced the overall development of the metal genre, but I think he was a very important figure. I'll see you guys around next week, hopefully. Bye.
Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my mother and my sisters and my brothers. Lo, there do I see the line of my people. Back to the beginning.
Lo, they do call to me. They bid me take my place among them.
In the halls of Valhalla,
Where the brave
they live